What's up, guys? Sorry I'm late. My internet is awful right now for no reason. Let's try that to reboot. But we're live. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm assuming 3 of you? Yeah, 3 of you. That's about what I average when I kick these off. Yeah, 2 of you. All right. Bye, number 1. That one individual. Anyway. What you cats want to talk about? Someone tweeted at me to talk about Lock and Key. I'm currently rereading that right now. I read a lot of the floppies or singles or back issues or whatever you want to call them. During its initial run, I haven't seen the television show, so can't really speak on that. I do want to watch it, but I want to refresh myself because I read the floppies or whatever you back issue singles. I call them floppies, which are just, the ones you pull off the rack, the 30-page ones. I read the floppies when they first came out, but they weren't mine. They were my friend's. My friend owns them, and he would let me borrow them. I've since then rebought all of the, I don't know what you call these, like the library editions, the omnibus editions, whatever you want to call these ones right here. And I'm currently rereading them. But I'm rereading them. I'm rereading the Sandman again in preparation for the TV show. And what else am I reading? Reading like 5 books. Might reread Judge Dredd. We'll see. Oh, and I just bought, oddly enough, I've never read Grendel in my life. Not that I didn't have any interest in it. It was just never on my radar. So I just picked up the first omnibus, so I'm going to reread Grendel. I read a handful of it, but none of it in order. So I'm finally going to reread Grendel. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm reading right now. And, of course, Love and Rockets, just because I love Love and Rockets. It's kind of like my comfort food. Comfort food comic book. Someone says 2E7. I don't know. Apologize if I don't know how to pronounce that YouTube name. Haven't bought comic books in years. It got expensive and took a long break. Oh, I feel you there. I was really into Ed Brubaker stuff. Do you like his work? I love Ed Brubaker, but I understand why people don't. It's a little over the top at points where I have a big chunk of it. Where is it, my Ed Brubaker content? His Captain America was very good. But for those of you who didn't watch last week's, I might try to do this at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday, but I recently moved, so I don't know, and I had to restock my shelves, so I don't know where anything is off the top of my head. My old place, I could just turn around and grab exactly what I was looking for without even looking. I could just reach and grab it. Man, where the heck is my Ed Brubaker stuff? I have all of Criminal, which is obviously an Ed Brubaker masterpiece. Him and Sean Phillips they're like the team right now. Criminal is very good if you like noirs or like pulpy crime novels. They're all like individual, like it's like an anthology, so you don't need to read all of them in order. You can just jump into whatever one. Obviously, Innocence Lost, I think is what it's called. I don't know. Last of the Innocent. That's like the popular one. Because it's like a mature take on the Archie comic books that everyone's read a million times. So I think that one's my favorite just because it's pretty over the top. Back when I used to work at Total Nerd, and I was like their video host, I did like a little video on them just because it's like a twisted adult, not twisted, it's like just like a crime pulpy version of Archie with like Sean Phillips art. So if anyone's read Sean Phillips, you know what to expect. But yeah, Ed Brubaker's great. I one time interviewed CM Punk before his UFC debut. His second fight, I want to say. First or second fight. Second fight. And he was a big Ed Brubaker fan. Slowly getting back into comics, usually got into Wrestling by Ed. Haven't started yet. I actually haven't read Reckless yet, but it was everywhere. There's like a handful of comic book stores that I frequent, local comic book stores, and it was always right on the front. So they were really pushing Reckless. I just haven't got around to read it. There's too many things I have to catch up on. Also, I go through phases. Like, I'm not really in a phase right now where I read a lot of pulpy, like, crime novels. I was for a bit, specifically Stray Bullets and Scalps, which I talked about last week. I think Stray Bullets is the best. And then, of course, Parker. Criminal is very good, but I just put Stray Bullets and Parker a notch above them for sure. Wiz Cubby. I wish I had more to add to the convo, but I don't read a lot of comic myself. Love hearing your input, Robbie. Yeah, Robbie's in London right now doing his thing for UFC London. I wish I was there, but we did not send anyone this time. But you can go watch all of Robbie's interviews. You can watch Oscar Willis's interviews, all that jazz. But yeah, unfortunately, not there this time. Wish I could be there, but we could have done the Basement Boys could have grabbed some Nando's together over in the UK. So go watch Robbie's content. Him and Clem were messaging me to watch Stranger Things. I've still not seen Stranger Things. I've seen the first episode, and it just didn't do nothing for me, but it's like obviously wildly popular. And I kept seeing the Hellfire Club shirts that they were pushing, and I was like, why is everyone, because they're in the comic books, there are like two. The Hellfire Club, obviously, and the X-Men, which is like the Sebastian Shaw or whatever his name is. And it was like Emma Frost was in it. Jean Grey or whoever when she was the Black Queen. Obviously, Emma Frost was the White Queen. And then obviously the Hellfire Club and the Sandman, which is going to be in the first season when Dream has to go into hell to get back his helm from Lucifer. And they play this game and they're like whisked away into the Hellfire Club, which is literally just like a nightclub in hell. Speaking of Clem, what's up, Clem? You missing Robbie in London? I wish I was there. Any idea what the X-Men are up to these days? Getting excited about the hint of them joining the MCU soon. I don't know specifically what they're doing now. X Swords was a lot. That was like the real popular one when it came out. When did that end? X Swords. Or whatever it was called. X of Swords. It was all right. I think that was 2020. And then obviously like Dawn of X, House of X, Powers of X. It was just like, it was a whole thing. There was a lot going on. It was hard to keep up. I'm not a big fan of how Marvel does it, where you buy one thing and then you have to buy like 10 different titles. I'm not a fan. DC does it sometimes, but at least it's kind of streamlined. Marvel's a little all over the place. Like for example, when Wolverine died in the comic books, I want to say 7-8 years ago, his death was great. It was such a good and like quote unquote ending where he basically got encased in like liquid adamantium and he climbed up to the roof and just like kneeled down and then the metal hardened and he died, and then the X-Men used his body as like a monument because it was adamantium and you can't break it, but then his body disappeared from the adamantium, so it was like the hunt for Wolverine's body. And I started to read it and it was obviously fascinating because it was like a mystery, like where did his body go, and then you kept having to buy like 7 titles every month just to keep up with the story. So you'd have to buy like X-Men, like X Factor, House of X, like all of these. And then they even put like Marvel like put a timeline, like because I think enough people complain that they put like a timeline in the comic book, and I was like, this is too much. I'm not a fan. So that kind of soured me on X-Men for a bit, but I don't want to ruin X of Swords because it was very fun. House of X is obviously very fun. It's sitting somewhere back here. If I ever go up to the Northeast, maybe I have to give Robbie some books. I promised him one of my What If stories where Doctor Doom gets the Infinity Gauntlet and fights the Celestials. I just haven't gotten around to him. The X-Men, of course, also have some of the absolute worst storylines, but also some of the best. Yeah, and the X-Men right now, yeah, I don't know what they're doing in 2022. Sorry, Clem. But I've heard they're doing something with, I heard mutants are in Miss Marvel. Is that true? I haven't watched that yet, but I might have to watch it now. So we'll see. The crossover craft for Marvel is getting out of hand. It's a huge event, like once a week. I like more individual stories. Yeah, and I was talking with my friend the other day. We went to we hit like a couple comic book stores to catch up on some stuff. And like DC owns Vertigo, and they have the DC label or the Black label. So they can put out stuff like Lucifer and Sandman and like V for Vendetta, The Watchmen obviously is a Vertigo title, and you have these like that is like the Black Label is for all those it's like those side stories like Batman Damned or The Question or where is it I gotta keep track of these Wonder Woman like Dead Earth, Superman by Year One, Question, Death of Vic Sage, like all of these comic books are like one shots and they're great. And then obviously Vertigo is what it is. But Marvel doesn't have that. Everything just has to be part of the multiverse. And it's infuriating. It is absolutely infuriating because you can't just have like, it would be, the only thing that I can think of is if Marvel bought Dark Horse and just kept it as is. So like Hellboy would just stay in the Dark Horse world and not mess around with Marvel. That's essentially what Vertigo is with DC. Yes, Dream has like popped over into the DC universe once or twice, or Etrigan has popped over in the Sandman, same as like Martian Manhunter, and Lucifer's obviously Lucifer, but they don't have that. Marvel doesn't have their side print. Everything just needs to be in the multiverse or these over the top crossover events. I like what Chris Claremont would do, where he would like make it an actual timeline where like hero like when his run with the X-Men was the best because the heroes would age, they would die, they would graduate the school, and it was like when they graduated, that was it. There was no retconning it. So then eventually when he ended, like he's the one that killed off Jean Grey, and then when he wasn't writing it, they brought Jean Grey back, and he was pissed because he's like, this is not how, like, it's just a timeline. People get old, people die, do this and that. He's trying to make it a little more realistic. So I'm a big fan of those types of comic books. Marvel just doesn't do that anymore. Ultimate Universe started to do that a bit, but then obviously the Ultimatum and the Cataclysm and all that stuff happened, and it was just Jeff Loeb basically just took a hatchet to the Ultimate Universe and then bounced and was like, have fun with that, and then he left. And then they had to obviously collapse the universe into the mainstream Earth 616 universe because they wanted Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen and Ultimate Reed Richards into the mainstream universe. So it's very annoying for comic book fans. DC does it a lot too, but I think they're big. Like their crisis events are fun, like Final Crisis on Infinite Earth, Infinite Crisis. They have a new one that they think they just announced this week at San Diego Comic-Con. It's like the Infinite. It's another Infinite one, which is fat. Like people complain about this, but we have to remember in the DC universe there's 52 worlds or universes. Like that's why they called it the New 52. So in their multiverse, there's 52 worlds, not a million like in the Marvel universe. Infinite is obviously, no pun intended, infinitely more fascinating because now there's an infinite amount of worlds that they can mess around with. I would highly recommend people read Multiversity, especially like, okay, I don't know if Clem is still in this chat or if someone reaches out to him and tells him I told him this. If anyone reads Multiversity, it is an absolute mind-bending trip. Wow, I opened right to the page. He's obviously a big Peacemaker fan. I see him tweet about it all the time. But there is so this is Multiversity. It has the 52 multiverses, and they talk about it, and they bounce between all the universes and this and that, and there's like new artists and what have you. There's one by Grant Morrison, and they are a demigod of comic books, and then Frank Quitely, who's one of my absolute favorite artists of all time, and they wrote the short story Pax Americana, which is my favorite Peacemaker arc. It's their play on the Watchmen, but obviously they can't use the Watchmen characters, so it's like Captain Atom and Blue Beetle, Peacemaker, and all those like Justice Society type people. Obviously the Question instead of Rorschach. It's got to be 30 pages and that's it, but it's fantastic. So people need to read Multiversity, and that will kind of give them an understanding of the multiverse, DC's multiverse, because obviously if you watch the movies, you can kind of comprehend the multiverse in the MCU or the comic book world. It's not as complicated, but it's a little overbearing at times. I think they concentrate too much on the multiverse, but I think Marvel does some fun stuff with the multiverse, like when they had the Earth 616 Mysterio sent his androids to the Ultimate Universe, or when the zombie universe broke through into the Ultimate Universe. That was a lot of fun. DC needs to do more of that. But anyway, for From My Mom's Basement, The Basement Boys. Which actor, actress did the best job accurately presenting a character from the comic books on screen? I don't hate any of the MCU casting, honestly. I really don't. I obviously, there are some that I never envisioned with their accents, but that's obviously just in your head. Like, obviously, I'd never envisioned Doctor Strange to have a British accent like Benedict Cumberbatch, but that's just neither here nor there. But he does a fantastic job with Doctor Strange. Chris Evans does a fantastic job as Captain America. I wish he was a little more corny like Superman, but that's not his fault. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is great as Iron Man. Hemsworth is great. Everyone in the MCU is good. I think I've nailed the casting. I've said this on The Basement when I was in the basement when I did a Moon Knight recap or preview. I think I'm a big Oscar Isaac fan, and I thought he was a good casting, but I personally had never envisioned Moon Knight having multiple, when he would split in his personalities. I never envisioned him with different accents. So that creative choice by whoever's choice that was, whether that's Oscar Isaac or the directors or the writers or whoever, I thought that was fantastic. I think Charlie Cox is a fantastic Daredevil. As a Matt Murdock. Is that who does it? I watched the first season. I got halfway through the second season and bailed on that Netflix show. I didn't watch Iron Fist. I watched a little bit of Jessica Jones. I'm not a big Jessica Jones fan. She has interesting stories, but I don't like any of her singular stories. She's a very good character when she's like a supporting character or part of the Defenders. I'm not a big Jessica Jones fan. Luke Cage was good. Who does the best? Accurate. Tom Holland is a really good Spider-Man. So, I mean, honestly, all the Spider-Mans have been good. Tom Holland is a fantastic Spider-Man. Yeah, I think I like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He has a good... Yeah, Tom Holland is a good Spider-Man. I liked Robert Pattinson as Batman, too. I like Christian Bale as Batman. The Christian Bale Batmans, I've rewatched a few of those. I think I like the Robert Pattinson Batman better, honestly. Like that movie, like obviously everyone likes The Dark Knight, but I think people like The Dark Knight because of Heath Ledger and not Christian Bale, which I don't think is a knock on him. I think if most people say, what's the best Batman movie, they'll choose The Dark Knight solely because of Heath Ledger's portrayal as the Joker. I also think there's never been a bad version, and this might be controversial. Even the voice acting, I don't think there's ever been a bad Joker. Even Jared Leto's. Everyone's hating on Jared Leto's Joker. It's because they were comparing him to Heath Ledger's Joker. But if you read the comic books, that was the Joker of the time. He was just a psycho. He was like a drug addict psycho. Like if you read Brian Azzarello's Joker, that Joker was modeled off of Heath Ledger, but he acted a lot more like Jared Leto's Joker. If I can ever find these comic books, my God. Get it together, Jose. Wherever it is. And then if you read Batman R.I.P., that Joker looked or Batman R.I.P. or Endgame, not Avengers Endgame, Batman Endgame, which is right here in this nifty-do slipcase by Scott Snyder. You can see that is what that is Jared Leto's Joker. He cut his face off and he regrew, and he's a crazy man. Like, that is who he was. So everyone hating on Jared Leto's Joker for no reason was just comparing him to Heath Ledger. Now, the movie was terrible, but that's not his fault. I liked Joaquin Phoenix. I didn't really necessarily care for that movie in the Batman universe. But obviously, I don't think anyone has captured like the mannerisms and the physical movements and that quite like as a Clown Prince of Crime version of the Joker, quite like Joaquin Phoenix. I thought he was a phenomenal Joker. Didn't necessarily care for the movie. I don't like how they made a Joker guy. Spoilers, if anyone is like 2 years late or 3 years late to the Joker movie, wasn't a fan of how when all the people put on the Joker mask at the end, there was like the riots. It was like they were the 99% going after the 1%. And one of the guys in the Joker mask killed the Waynes in the alleyway, and that's why Bruce Wayne eventually obviously becomes Batman. I wasn't a fan of that because essentially, if you think about it, that makes Batman the champion of the 1% because the 99% uprising is what led to the Wayne's murder because the Joker thought that Thomas Wayne was his real father. So now Batman is basically fighting crime to avenge his parents and, defend the 1%, the rich people of Gotham from the 99% and the uprising that the Joker created. Hate everything about that narrative, but Joaquin Phoenix was very good. Again, I'm not talking about the movies or the shows as a whole. I'm talking about that character. So obviously Mark Hamill is the best Joker. Heath Ledger was good. Cesar Romero is fantastic from the Adam West Batman. Joaquin Phoenix, Jared Leto, the voice that does from The Batman, that TV show from the mid 2000s where Joker has dreads and kind of monkeyish. Fantastic. I loved that version of the Joker too. I don't remember the guy who played him in the post credit scene or whatever in The Batman. What was his name? He was in Dunkirk. He was in Death of or whatever that weird Colin Farrell movie was. Man. Barry Keoghan. Duh. I knew that. He was good for the 60 minutes he was on. Everyone's saying that he should have been the bad guy to begin with. That's stupid because we don't need, and I don't think we even need another Joker in the live action because Batman has the best rogues gallery in comic books. I would put Spider-Man a close second, but Batman has the best. The X-Men have good ones too. So does Daredevil, but Batman's is the best. I don't want another Joker. I don't the Riddler was great. I loved this version of the Riddler. It was essentially, what was it? Unabomber meets Zodiac Killer as the Riddler. I loved everything about that. I don't want another Joker, not because I dislike the Joker. I think the Joker, I think Magneto's the best supervillain in comic book history. I'd probably put the Joker second, Dr. Doom third, Green Goblin fourth. I think that's a pretty good list. Mephisto's obviously up there, Galactus, blah, blah, blah. But I put Magneto a notch above Joker, but that's a slight one. But I'm burnt out of Joker. Mr. Freeze movie, awesome. Another Poison Ivy movie, awesome. Or even do Shadow of the Bat, which was my favorite title growing up, because they would really focus on these smaller villains, but fantastic villains like Mr. Zaz, Amygdala, the Ventriloquist, Anarchy, Killer Moth. All of these would be great if they did a Shadow of the Bat comic as a movie where they took all of these disrespected villains and then teamed up. I think that would be killer. I would love an Amygdala to show up. I would love a new Scarecrow. Maybe not Scarecrow because we've had him a few times, but the Mad Hatter would be amazing. The Mad Hatter episode from the Batman animated Batman series, which is obviously the best TV show of all time, live action or animated, was fantastic. So add Solomon Grundy to the lore. From if anyone wants a Solomon Grundy thing, if you haven't watched Justice League and you don't watch cartoons or whatever, it's okay to watch cartoons. But if you don't want to watch them, just read Long Halloween. It's great. Solomon Grundy walking around in sewers. A Two-Face would be great. I want something new. I don't need another Joker. I love the Joker. He's great. Obviously he is literary importance is so understated, but I just don't want another one. I want something new. Batman has stellar villains that we need to capitalize on. Anyway, that's end of rant. Okay. So I've said this a lot. Someone asked me, would be interested in what Jose thinks about the Boys comics compared to the show. I don't like the Boys. I've never seen the show. I don't like the comic book. I think the comic book is it is one of my least favorite comic books I've ever read. I've given it a shot. I actually have. It's sitting somewhere around here. Let's see if I can see it over here. It might even be over here. Dang. Oh. I don't know. I can't find it, but somewhere in this pile of comic books next to me is issue 1 of The Boys. I have the first 10 issues sitting around here somewhere. I'm not a fan. I don't like. We have to get into this, but it's a whole thing. I've said this on Twitter a few times, and people always complain at me. I know Robbie, I know Clem, I know it's like freaking Daniel Cormier. It's like his favorite show in the world. Damon Martin, who I work with, it's like his favorite thing. Sean Al-Shadi loves my colleague, loves The Boys. I hate it. I hate the comic book so much. It is not. I think it is genuinely not a good comic book. People like it, though, and I'm not telling you not to read it. I'm not telling you not to enjoy it. If you enjoy The Boys, by all means, keep reading it. I don't like it. We don't have to get into all the we could save that conversation for another time because people have asked me about it. Like even Phoenix Carnival, who, is the undefeated, uncrowned champion of Between the Links on MMAfighting.com. She loves it. I don't at all. I also don't like Invincible, before anyone asks. The Invincible is better than The Boys. But I also, the Superman, what if Superman was evil, or what if the realistic, if I was Superman, I would do this. That's, I think, played out. Been there, done that. With Homelander, with what's-his-name from Invincible, from freaking Irredeemable over here, from all of these things. Like, been there, done that. I don't read comic books for the realism. I would like to see Superman, faster than a speeding bullet. Super like stopped, like faster than a speeding bullet, bend steel, save the day, be the superhero. Parents should want their kids to be Superman, not Batman. Superman is underrated as a hero, not because he's not a. I think, and when I say that, it's because everyone hates on Superman for being like the Boy Scout, and they use things like he's boring, he's too perfect. When I hear that, I know you've never read Superman, because Superman is the man. I love Superman. I love Batman. They're just different. They're just different sides of a coin. Superman is great, and I want Superman to stay Superman. I like the Boy Scout. And when he does fail, it's that much bigger. Like when Superman decided that, you know what, I've saved the day a whole bunch of times in a row. I'm gonna fly Lois Lane. That issue's sitting somewhere around here too. I'm gonna take Lois Lane to lunch in Paris. So what does Clark Kent do? He picks up Lois Lane. They fly to Paris, and while Superman is finally getting a day off to enjoy his life in Paris, his friend's son gets kidnapped and murdered. And that is what happens when Superman takes a day off from being Superman. That is why Superman is the man. Because Superman, when he fails, it's that much bigger of a deal. And Superman's also the greatest superhero ever. We would not, like, the MCU, I know it's Marvel, the MCU, the DC Extended Universe, the DC Animated Universe, all these comic books behind me would not exist without Superman. He was the original. I know we're not going to get into that argument. Superman is the greatest. Spider-Man is obviously like top 5. Batman's top 5. Wonder Woman, Flash, all those. Superman is the best. He's the most important comic book character in the history of comic books. And we will not stand for any Superman bashing. He is the best. And if you want a recommendation, because I always get asked, what would you recommend if I want to read Superman? The answer will always be All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison, or For All Seasons by Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb. Those are the two, to me, the best Supermans. They encapsulate everything that's great about Superman. I would read 4 Seasons first, because that starts with Superman in Smallville and kind of ends with him establishing himself as Superman. And everything in that comic book is what makes Superman great. I didn't hate the movie with Henry Cavill. I really liked Henry Cavill as Superman. I liked Brandon Roth as Superman too, from Superman Returns or whatever, from like 2006. I didn't like that movie. I thought he was good. The one scene that I liked from that movie that I think really nailed what Superman is all about is when he saves the plane at the very beginning, and he like lands it on the baseball field, and he looks at everyone. Everyone's like, "Oh, Superman's back." He goes, "Is everyone okay?" And everyone's like staring at him. He's like, "I hope this doesn't deter you from flying. Statistically, it is still safer than driving." And then he like flies away. That is Superman. Always looks on the sunny side up, says something like cool but corny, and then flies away after saving the day. Superman is great. Superman is fantastic. Everyone read Superman for All Seasons. R.I.P. Tim Sale. Everyone read Superman, All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison has never, like, that's the best thing they've ever written. Obviously, Arkham Asylum is also great. And then if you want, like, do you remember the Superman cartoon, like Superman and Animated Adventures? There's a version of that as a comic book, and even guys like Scott McCloud wrote some, and Scott McCloud, to me, is a literal genius when it comes to comic books. Great. Superman is the best. No Superman bashing in my presence. Anyway, I digress. My name rhymes with Nicholas, so Nicholas. Okay. I've yet to read Sandman. How do you feel about the upcoming series adaptation? Finally, someone has asked about this. So, Sandman, everyone always asks what my favorite comic book is, and I like break it down to like a bunch of different categories. To me, the greatest, like, when I say continuous series, I mean like there was the Sandman was the series. Spider-Man is obviously great, like The Amazing Spider-Man or The Uncanny X-Men or Detective Comics, Superman, but they've constantly been rebooted. Like right now, they've rebooted the numbering system again for The Amazing Spider-Man. So they got through like 900 or something, and then they rebooted, and then they did it again, and they did it again. So like right now in 2022, they're on The Amazing Spider-Man issue 6 is going to come out. Obviously, it is not the 6th ever issue of The Amazing Spider-Man, considering Spider-Man debuted in like 1963. So I'm not counting those. The best continuous series, so when I say continuous series, something like Why the Last Man or Hellblazer or Scalped or Hellboy, Swamp Thing. You know, ones that like you get the Swamp Thing, Sandman, Irredeemable. Fables would be a continuous series. I think the greatest continuous series in the history of comic books has been Sandman, and I don't think anything will catch up to it anytime soon. The Sandman is the how would I say this? It is if you got a master's, if you are an English major, if you have a master's degree in English, if you are an English major, your favorite comic book is probably Sandman, because Neil Gaiman is a genius. It is the best. Everything about it is perfect. Every issue is perfect. There are stories that I like more than others, but everything about Sandman is perfect. It is so good, in fact, that I've actually tattooed Death from the Sandman comic book onto my arm because she's my favorite character. How do I feel about the upcoming adaptation? Can't wait. Can't wait. I'm not a big TV guy. I haven't seen Sweet Tooth, the live-action Sweet Tooth. I haven't seen the live-action Lock and Key. I did watch the live-action Cowboy Bebop. I know that's anime, but we're going to talk about it. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't like a lot of adaptions from books like that. I'm not counting the MCU ones because I feel like those are like their own contained stories, but things based off of these limited runs, it doesn't do anything for me. The difference between those and this is Neil Gaiman has said multiple times that not only was he involved with the writing and stuff, he was on set for so much of it. And I think that is incredibly important that Neil, like they've been trying to make a Sandman movie or show or something for years since it ended. And Neil Gaiman has been very protective of it, and he was going to do it right. So the fact that we're like 20 days away I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. The casting has been great from what I've seen. I've avoided a lot of trailers because I want to go in without hearing voices or seeing things. I've seen the pictures, obviously. The Sound of Her Wings, they just released the picture like that. A lot of people think that's the best issue when Dream meets his sister Death at the fountain and they go on that walk. They showed a picture of them meeting. Oh my God, it looks unbelievable. They showed obviously him meeting Lucifer and Hades before they go to the Hellfire Club. They've showed a lot of scenes in these still images, but I've avoided a lot of trailers, and my body is ready. I'm counting the days down. Like Robbie and Clem, they get up early or they stay awake to watch, like they stayed up early to watch Kenobi or Moon Knight or Miss Marvel or Loki, WandaVision, all these. Like that's going to be me. I'm watching every episode the first day, and I'm going to keep watching them. If you don't want to read Sandman, because it is very intimidating. Like this is one, I have the library editions, but I also have a handful of the floppies laying around somewhere. Oh, I can't even get my finger in this. It's so big. Oh. This is one library edition of the Sandman. So I think this is, how many issues is this? Oh, this one is, this is the first 37 issues of Sandman. And then one issue of the Sandman special, all written obviously by Neil Gaiman. This is a monster to read. This is not something you can take on the bus or an airplane. If you don't want to read it, I'm happy to say the Audible version of it on is Amazon own Audible? I don't remember. Whoever owns Audible, Neil Gaiman actually narrates it, and it is unreal. It is fantastic. Like it's fully casted. What's his name? Not Ewan McGregor, the other Scottish guy. He was in Wanted. I can never remember actors' names. He does Dream. I think Kat Denning does Death. There's a whole bunch of really, really famous actors that lends their voices to these. And my body can't wait. My body is ready. It can't come. The live action Sandman can't come soon enough, and I'm going to make Robbie and Clem and the Basement Boys read it. It's the best. It is the best. Would love a good Deathstroke or Deadshot. I think you mean Deadshot in a Batman movie. So Deathstroke was in, what's his name? The guy that's married to Sofia Vergara. He was in Magic Mike. Joe Malinaji, whatever his name is. He was gonna play Deathstroke in the Snyderverse. He did play Deathstroke in the Snyderverse. They even have like they had him try on the suit. I believe he was in the Snyder cut. He was a good casting for Deathstroke. I didn't see the Snyder cut because their fans bothered me, so I just didn't get around to watching it. I was gonna have like 4 hours to just sit and watch, CGI fest from that, but that's neither here nor there. Deathstroke would be good. I would like Deathstroke in Teen Titans show much more, and then they can kind of establish him into the Batman universe. And Deadshot would be cool as well, especially if they bring Will Smith back or whoever. He would be cool, but I would like to see, if they're going to bring Deadshot in, I would like them to bring all of the Suicide Squad, not just him. But yeah, either one would be cool. I think they would make a better villain in a TV series rather, because while Deathstroke is cool because you can go hand-to-hand combat with Batman, there's just more interesting ones than me. Plus, Deathstroke is just like a more serious version of Deadpool or vice versa. So it's I want to see Mad Hatter. I want to see Amygdala. I would love the ventriloquist. And ventriloquist and Scarface. I would love like a real Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze is my favorite growing up, so maybe that one. I can see how if you had such an aversion to the comic book that you want to spend time on the show. I'm assuming this is about the boys. Yeah, I'm not a boys fan. If you guys are, that's cool. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's a good time for you when you watch it. It's just not my bag of tea, for various reasons. The comic book was a lot. I would read it. I read like the first 10. I'm like, this sucks, and I stopped reading it. And then it got really popular. It kept getting. Like, the audience kept growing and growing, word of mouth, and then it seems that, like, every time I'd go to the comic book store, there would just be a lot of boys paraphernalia and, like stuff to collect or, like, new floppies or new books or posters. I'm like, you know what, maybe, and I don't, like, if I don't like a comic book and I put it away, but then it, like, gets a lot of steam and it gets really popular, I'll give it a chance. Because I'm like, you know what, maybe I'm just being salty and I overlooked it. So I reread the first 10, I was like, ugh. And then I kept reading, and after a while, I'm like, this is just ass. I don't want to read this anymore. But I also don't like I'm a completionist. I have to complete it. Whether if I hate it, I'm still going to finish it. If I dedicate enough of my life to a series, I'm going to finish it regardless of whether I like it or not. Cuz then I would feel weird, cuz I think I got through the first 25 issues and I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to read this anymore. But if I tell people I don't like it, I would feel weird not having finished it, because then I can't explain why I don't like it or give them I would feel odd just saying, nah, it sucks. And they're like, oh, did you finish it? And I say, no. And they go, then well, how can you say that? Plus, maybe they stuck the end. Maybe they'll stick the landing. Maybe the ending would be great. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. So, but I did. I've read almost all of the boys and I hated every second of it. But I hope everyone gets enjoyment out of it. I really do. I really, really do. Someone says Barry Keoghan. Yep, that's the name. Have you heard the leaks about Namor? I don't know who's playing him. I do a pretty good job of avoiding spoilers. Sometimes you can't avoid them. Like if you go to the movies, you get a trailer. But I try to avoid trailers and all this kind of stuff. But I know they were bringing him in. What was it? I assume Echo. And now obviously if you watched, it was either Black Panther or one of the Avengers movies, they said there was like underwater earthquakes. Obviously that is alluding to Submariner. I would assume he would be in Black Panther 2 or Echo or one of these other upcoming movies. But if you don't know anything about Submariner, or Namor as his name is, the Prince of Atlantis, the King of Atlantis. They've retconned. He was 1940. Him and the original Human Torch and Captain America were the three original heroes in 1940 or the early 1940s. When I say Human Torch, I'm not talking about the Johnny Storm Human Torch. This is like the android Human Torch. They were the three originals. Submariner, or Namor, was a bad guy for Fantastic Four for a bit because he was obsessed with Invisible Girl, or Sue Storm, or Sue Richards, whatever you want to call her. So he was a bad guy, eventually became like one of those misunderstood anti-hero type things that he was just really kind of, protecting Atlantis. He is supremely powerful, like super strength, can fly, swim underwater, this and that. He mops the floor with Aquaman, I'll tell you that much. Eventually they retconned him to being a mutant, like one of the original mutants. So if you read, what do you call it, AVX, which is Avengers versus X-Men, which was not bad. The writing of the first issue was so weird, but I loved it. Like, it was weird in the sense that, like, I was kind of into it. Like, the actual, when I say the writing, I don't mean the plot. Like, the actual dialogue was very strange, and I was kind of into it. He was one of, like, the Phoenix 7 or Phoenix 6, whatever you call it. It was like Cyclops, Colossus, Submariner, a few others, but they basically just, like, the Phoenix Force, like, split between them. And when one would get defeated, the other ones would absorb their powers, and Submariner was one of them. So yeah, Submariner is a mutant. So that means they have to include the X-Men. They have to include X-Men and mutants in the MCU coming up. Eves, any reading recommendation in terms of Young Avengers and those characters? Appreciate your insights always, man. You've only made me want to get into comics more, so thank you for that. Young Avengers. I like Wiccan a lot. You should read Iron Lad. One of my favorite moments when I was from my mom's basement was when I informed Clem and Robbie that Iron Lad is actually the young version of Kang the Conqueror, and their mouths like hit the floor because I'll rewind it. Iron Lad eventually learns what he's going to be. He's going to become Kang the Conqueror, this overlord of time, and he wants to, like, if you knew you were going to become this evil overlord, you would try to stop it. So he becomes a superhero as Iron Lad. So that was great. Obviously, the new Hawkeye was good. Well, the teenage girl Hawkeye. America Chavez is fun. Honestly, start with Wiccan and Iron Lad. Those are my two favorite. Yeah, those are my two favorite. I don't want to give away too much, but like start around the original Civil War in like the mid 2000s with Iron Man versus Captain America with like the red superhero registration thing. Start around there with Young Avengers because that's their peak, I think. But you can just dive in. Anyway. But Wiccan is great. Obviously, if you watch WandaVision, you've got a little glimpse of Wiccan, wink, wink. And then Iron Lad, if you want to get into more Kang the Conqueror stuff, because Kang the Conqueror is obviously going to be a big player in the MCU. The Batman, the 2000 cartoon, has some really cool villain redesigns. I agree. I was a big fan of Clayface. I was a big fan of Mr. Freeze, and I was a big fan of Clayface. Damn, that'd be a killer superhero for a live-action Batman. And obviously the Joker, which I mentioned. Those, and then the Batman versus Dracula movie was fun. I had a lot of fun. The Batman versus Dracula comic book from Batman Red Reign is also a lot of fun. From that and Elseworlds, because Marvel has What If and DC has Elseworld, which is a lot of like there's like Speeding Bullet, which is what if the Waynes found Kal-El, which is obviously Superman. So like what if the Waynes found the rocket ship with young Superman in it? And raised him as Bruce Wayne. So what if Batman had Superman's powers and Lex Luthor becomes the Joker? There's that one. Elseworlds. There's a ton of good There's a lot of really good. Like they do a lot where like what if these superheroes were in different eras? So like Batman and Robin in the Wild West, where like Robin is like an indie. It was very much like Zorro and Tonto type situation, or like Lone Ranger and Tonto. There was Batman Superman Generations, which was like Superman Batman like aging, which is super fascinating. I thought that was a lot of fun. So, but it's not enough. But Red Rain is like the most popular one. Like that's the vampire Batman one. That one is really good. Apparently, DC is announcing they are bringing back the Snyderverse canon. Cool, man. I haven't seen it. I saw Aquaman. I saw Batman v Superman. I saw Justice League, and I saw the original Superman, but I haven't seen the Snyderverse cut. I haven't seen the new Wonder Woman. I probably won't see the Flash because Ezra Miller is a psycho, and I don't really want to get into it. I can support that, but yeah, cool. I hope all the Snyderverse fans are happy about that. I think I've answered a lot of these. Yeah. Anyway, maybe I'll just wrap it up then. We've been talking for almost an hour. That's usually, I just try to keep these between 45 minutes to an hour. So anyway, thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks. Shout out to Clem for joining in. I can't wait to see you guys in the basement. Hopefully when I get, like maybe in November, if I go up to New York for UFC at MSG, we can hang out and chat in person. But also, not for nothing, the Mets are awful and the Red Sox are the best team in the world and they're going to win the World Series. Mark my words. Hopefully someone send that to him. Anyway, this is Jose. This has been Jose. Let's Talk Comic Books. I think I'm going to do this every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Let me know if that's a good time for you guys. And maybe I'll try a Twitter Spaces so you guys can audibly join at some point. But until then, thanks for hanging out. We out.